Aloha! My name is Eric Geimer. I am a licensed behavioral analyst. I practice ABA here in Honolulu, Hawaii through Behave Hawaii LLC, my company. We work with families such as yours in the home who are seeking ABA services and who are covered by HMSA medical insurance, as we are currently credentialed to serve clients with such medical coverage in the home. One of the things that we can do when we come into the home is work with you on developing antecedent interventions. One of the reasons I like behaviorism so much is it is no nonsense. This may be one of the only fields that actually has an ABC, a real ABC of how it all works. If you will, let's run through the ABCs of behaviorism right now together. So, antecedent, that is the A. It is whatever comes before a behavior occurs. Then there is B, the behavior. This is what the thing itself is. What is a behavior? I'm glad you asked. So in behaviorism, we have what's called the dead man's test. If a dead man can do it, it's not a behavior. Anything that a dead man cannot do, that is a behavior. So we have A, we have B, now we have C. What is the C of behaviorism? It is the consequence. Now, colloquially, a consequence is a bad thing, right? Oh, now we're going to suffer the consequences of our actions. In behaviorism, consequence is just a word to describe whatever happens after a behavior. There is always a consequence because it is whatever happens directly after any behavior occurs. And remember, a behavior is anything that a dead man cannot do, which means that every moment of every day, you and I and every other living being in existence is committing behaviors. So whenever I commit a behavior, there is a consequence. And the same is true for everyone and everything that is alive. So the ABCs are antecedent, behavior, consequence. How does behaviorism work? Well, it works in two ways. We can manipulate antecedents, the things that come before behaviors, and we can manipulate consequences, the things that come after behaviors. Typically, behaviors occur for one of two main and very basic reasons: to gain access to something or to escape from something. It's going to be some variation of one of those two things. Do I want more of this or do I want less of that? So when that happens, there was something that happened before the behavior and there was something that happened after the behavior. If they wanted more of something and they created the behavior to gain access to it, did they gain access to it or something similar enough where that behavior is going to continue and recur? If they wanted to avoid something, to escape from something, did they escape from whatever that thing was sufficiently enough that the behavior again is likely to occur? Well, in this instance, we're talking mainly about antecedents. So these are interventions that occur before the behavior rather than after the behavior. So with an antecedent, let's say we have a kiddo who is very interested in an appliance that maybe we don't want them playing around with. For instance, our glass coffee maker. The antecedent intervention is that we would want to put it up in a high shelf that they can't reach, and we would maybe want to put a child lock on that shelf so that it would be difficult, even if they reached the shelf, to open the shelf to get access to the glass container. Why? Well, maybe they like to watch that container as it flies through the air, so they like to throw it around. Well, being made of glass, that's dangerous, right? Because it could hit something, it could shatter, and then it could hurt them or others. So that's a behavior that we could address through an antecedent intervention. That's a very basic intervention. However, there's all kinds of things that we can do when we first come into a home, and that's part of our initial functional behavior analysis. So for instance, I've had a client who was accessing electronics that they shouldn't have in the home, and it was causing all sorts of problems because we don't want our kiddo to get shocked, right? That is one of the things we could do, is come into the home and start to see every little thing. Hey, how can we adapt this environment to make sure that everyone who needs access to this can get it, and everyone who should not have access to this cannot get to it. We had another instance with a client in the home who loved chase. It was their favorite thing in the world. They also loved to elope. You can understand how this might be difficult. If they're already eloping, that's the problem behavior, and they love chase, that is the main reinforcer for this particular kiddo, well, that can create a feedback loop. So that's dangerous, especially because in this home, right out the front door, there was a busy freeway. So one of the things we did, we had the family consider, and they did, installing a combination lock on the front door. They already had a fence in the back, so we didn't have to do a big intervention in the back, but on the front door, we simply made it so that it became more difficult to get through that front door. And then we established a routine whereby the RBT working in the home would provide ample opportunities throughout the session, which happened 5 days a week after school, to engage in chasing behaviors outside, so that the client, got to enjoy their special interest to the fullest extent that was safe. This was one of the ways we helped provide a behavioral solution utilizing an antecedent intervention. So in this video, I hope that you got to learn a little bit more about me, Eric Geimer, ABA specialist here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and LBA here in the States. My company, Behave Hawaii LLC, what we do, and specifically antecedent interventions, as well as the ABCs of ABA and behaviorism. Thanks so much, everyone. Please feel free to reach out to us at www.behavehawaii.com, and I will hopefully see you and your family soon. Aloha.